Wow.
Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Sunday Mindset. Liran Hirschkorn again with me returns. This time, first time on the show, good friend Katherine, or Kata as we know her. And I screwed up the description, didn't I? What did I call you? A
Psychiatrist.
Right, and you're a
clinical psychologist.
That's right. So I might as well have just called a Canadian an American, or a what was it called? A New Zealand, what was it? Australian as well. You get these things mixed up. So apologies for that. And I didn't say that to offend anyone out there. So please, I love my American friends and my Canadian friends as well. And the Australians as well. Okay, I'm digging a deeper hole. Right, let's get into this. First time on the show, why don't you give me a bit of background for the audience, Katherine, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. I'm a Chilean come British clinical psychologist. I'm also on now my e-commerce business. I've been trying to marry the two, and now that I'm a little bit further along the way, that's working out nicely, and I'm very excited for all the projects that come. I'm a title leader, so I'm really enjoying that role because I'm not very good with this kind of thing, so you're going to have to excuse me a little bit awkward in front of the cameras, but humans are my thing. Tiny humans used to be my thing. Now I move on to a little bit grown up humans, and I kind of find them a little bit the same, I have to say.
But you like adult humans as well from time to time, don't you?
Yeah, I have my moments, yeah.
You have your moments as well. Liran, give an introduction, not that it's necessary, but please do for those who haven't met you just yet.
Sure. Liran Hirschkorn. Been selling stuff online since 2010. Been selling on Amazon since 2014. I've started private label brands. I run an Amazon advertising agency, and I sell private label products on Amazon. And I've been coming on seller sessions now for 2 or 3 years, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and Friday you're coming back because we're going to do.
Yeah,
I thought we was going to at some point this week do the 50th show in a row, but today is show 55 because I miscalculated. So it's Friday, I think, is the 60th show. We're going to celebrate with a group of people. Sharon's in the feed here. She said, and the Kiwis down there. Yeah, apologies, she's from New Zealand, so I don't want to fuck that one up either.
Oh, right, and let's say Happy Mother's Day.
Yes,
for all
Happy Mother's Day.
Or for in the UK for all the mums, right?
Well, we've had Mother's Day in the UK.
Do you say mums in the UK?
We say mums. You say moms, don't you?
Yeah, we say mom.
Unless you are from the north, right? Like my son, who calls me mum.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. So you're celebrating Mother's Day there, Kat? Then, yeah.
I am. I get to celebrate twice in March.
Yeah.
And now here.
Oh, of course.
Do you celebrate today in the UK too?
Well, no, I mean, it's a complicated story, Liran. I was born in Chile, where it's also Mother's Day today. Then I moved to England, but I'm currently living in America.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm a child of the universe.
Nice.
Excellent. So, should we get into today's topic?
Yes.
Law of attraction. We're going to cover today. So, I'm just going to read what it says on Wikipedia. Let's see if we agree to this. In the New Thought philosophy, the law of attraction is the belief that positive or negative thoughts bring positive or negative experience into a person's life. True or false?
Say that again. So the idea
in the New Thought philosophy, the law of attraction is the belief that positive or negative thoughts bring positive or negative experiences into a person's life. So what it's saying there is that it can work both ways, right? So if you sway the pendulum, the negative thoughts will bring negativity into your life. Positive thoughts will bring the positivity side of it.
I think it's true, but it needs to be expanded on.
Let's do that then. The belief is based on the ideas that people and their thoughts are made from pure energy, and that a process of like energy attracting like energy exists through which a person can improve their health, their wealth, and personal relationships. Kata, agree or disagree?
Well, I agree to a certain point, but I do not believe that we're 100% made of pure energy. I think there are other things there, and much like the law itself says, getting a little bit caught up on why is it that works, I don't think is really that important, to be honest. I do believe that from a scientific point of view, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, empathy and the way that the brain just simply is, wired to work with the mirror neurons and all that. If you see someone smiling, you naturally feel like you're going to smile. Why wouldn't that be applicable to other things?
Yeah.
But I am.
You said mirror neurons, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it then goes on to say there is zero empirical scientific evidence supporting the law of action, and it is widely considered as pseudoscience. So I think it's the belief system, isn't it?
Yeah. There's two things happening here. I think the law of attraction is having a vision, right? And you can say for every single person that started something great, they had a vision of what they wanted to achieve. And the vision is the beginning of attracting that into your life. Without a vision, it's going to be harder to attract. Behind the vision needs to be followed up with action. Okay. You, of course, if you sit in your room and just think about a beach house with 5 bedrooms and a 2-car garage, it's not going to happen unless you take certain actions to bring that closer into your life. At the same time, by having the vision starting out, your subconscious mind is more likely to help you, direct you towards taking those actions that you need to take in order to get there. So to me, it's a 2-step process. It's vision, ambition, and action, right? Like, or vision and action. It's like having a GPS or having a map, right? It's kind of knowing where you want to go and then getting in the car and driving towards that on that GPS. If your vision is, I can't do this, this is difficult, this is not going to happen, then your subconscious mind is going to program you to sit on your ass and not take any action. And it's that combination. So the law of attraction, I think the reason why it gets sort of some negative press is that some people think that the law of attraction is telling you to just sit in a room, close your eyes, and think about all the money that you're going to get. Number one, and that's wrong. Number one. Number two, law of attraction requires you to be very specific. Okay, you can't just think, I want $1 million. You have to think, I want $1 million because with that $1 million, I'm going to do this, and this, and be very extremely specific about what you actually want. And I would take a gamble and say, if you stop the average person in the world on the street and said to them, what do you want? They probably couldn't give you a clear set of 5 things they really want. They might say a lot of money, but then like, what would you do with that money?
Or they say to be rich.
Yeah, to be rich. But like, what would you do with that? You have to have very specific targeted goals, and that helps you develop the action plan and direct your subconscious mind towards achieving. And the last thing I'll add is that this whole thing of law of attraction is not some kind of new wave thing, right? It's written there in Wikipedia as a new age technology, but we know books like The Science of Getting Rich, books like Think and Grow Rich, right? These were the precursors to what made this popular, which was The Secret, which was a book that kind of took a lot of those concepts and made them popular. But these concepts have existed for, a couple hundred years at least. Yeah.
Kata, I'll bring you in here. Obviously, Liran is given like a really good overview of it. I want to pick up on this empathy stuff later because of the abuse that can happen. So what is your take on it? Like, obviously, Liran's expressed some really good views there. Is there anything that you want to add to that part as well?
Well, it's funny that you invited me today because I feel that law of attraction has been a way that I didn't even know I was following through my life. I was always the crazy one that would just know that it will happen, and I didn't care how, but I will put myself out there to make things happen, right? I've always called myself a bit of a doer and a bit of a crazy just because of that. And when I found it, it was really fascinating because at the time I was entering this relationship with a Royal Air Force officer whose mind is super disciplined, and he was just so good and so square and so empirical and all of that. And well, he's changed now. That's why he's an Amazon seller now with me. But also, it's just as Liran said. You said if you sit there and you just scare of things that are not going to work, or you just sit on your ass and you expect things to happen to you, that is also true. And scientifically, that can also be proven, because at the end of the day, if you stop and dwell on how things are actually going to take place, you're wasting all of your energy on worrying about it, on the fear that will paralyze your actions. So it all kind of makes sense whether you believe in the hype or not. You can explain it from every point you want, but the truth is, if you just sit there fearing that it may not come true, newsflash, it won't come true, because you're wasting all of your time thinking of that.
Yeah.
So I do believe that, as you said, it was a really rounded explanation and kind of current vision of how people see this. But it's not magic. There is you have to have some source of input as well to make things happen. So yeah, 100% agree with that. And yeah, it definitely defines.
I think the other aspect that really Catherine mentioned, empathy. I think the other key word here when it comes to the law of attraction is gratitude. And I think it's starting out with being happy and thankful for what you already have.
Yeah.
And you can attract better, more expansion into your life if your entire mind is negative about what you currently have. You can use, there's kind of two sides of it. You can use anger or unhappiness with maybe like your current situation as a fuel to get more. But then if that's the case, be grateful that you're in a shit situation, because that shit situation is going to put you in a better situation, because you're using that to not be satisfied with what you have. But be grateful that says, thank God I'm in this terrible situation, or I would never want more out of life, right? Like you still have to spin it into a positive, I think, in order to allow more to come into your life. And I think allowing more to come into your life is sort of like very natural. Everything in nature wants to grow, wants to expand, wants to become more, right? And I think as humans, it's the same. But I think the starting point needs to be, what can I appreciate in my life? What can I be grateful for? If you're not where you want to be, there's got to be things you can be grateful for. The fact that you woke up today and are breathing is a thing to be thankful for. The fact that you can watch this is a thing to be thankful for. There's a lot of things we can be thankful for, and I think that needs to be a starting point before you can attract more into your life.
Indeed. I'm going to say some highs in the chat here. So we've got Mazar, mum or ma'am. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. So happy here. Owen says, hi, everybody. Jason says, looking forward to interesting talk. Grateful for you guys being here and sharing your thoughts. Good morning from Tiff. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums. Athena says, happy Mother's Day, Kata. You're such a rock star. Stephanie says, happy Mother's Day, Kata. We love your pretty face. Yachin's back here. Hi, nice one to see you all again. Thanks, Danny. Your husband, Law of Attraction 100% works for me, made a vision board years ago, and every one of them happened. The key is to just send an order to the universe and simply accept that it will deliver. Christine says, hello, guys. Saibi says, good afternoon, peeps. Isn't there some value in not wanting and just being? Good question. Adam says it starts with gratitude. And Andrew says, hello. Question for you with Law of Attraction. In order to practice it, if that's a word, or understand the protocol for it to deliver for you, do you have to add empathy? I'll come to this reason a bit later.
I mean, for me, it's not. For me, you should have empathy, and I think empathy is a good characteristic to have to be a good human being, right?
And it gets abused. We're going to talk about that later. When
somebody's being a dick to you, well, you can have empathy that's like, you know what? This person must have had a bad childhood. It's not me. And have some empathy instead of fighting back, right? That's empathy. I'd be interested to hear Catherine's take on how that sort of blends in with the law of attraction. But I think it's also related to gratitude, right? You're being like, instead of getting angry, instead of letting your emotions rule you, using empathy and gratitude can make a difference. Danny, we'd spoken the last couple of weeks about Naval, and he put out some really good texts in the last week, but a couple of them were, I think he said something like a calm mind and a fit body and a calm mind is like all you need. And then he put out something yesterday that said, just like a low resting heart rate is a byproduct of intense exercise, low anxiety is the byproduct of intense self-examination. And I think all this stuff relates to just like being internally happy before you can get outside things. And the comment in the comments here about about wanting more. I think when we think about what we want in life or the things that we want, we should also think of the negative things. Meaning, I see an ad for this. I just saw an ad yesterday for this really cool note-taking gadget that's electronic or whatever, right? And I think, wow, I want that. But I don't think, what are the downsides of having that, of just having more crap in my life, right? Like, I look around my house and there's so many things that I just want to give away or get rid of, throw out, and that I don't use.
Yeah.
And so there's positive aspects to also not having stuff, and we need to think about both sides.
Yeah, makes sense. Your take there, Katherine, because you said you was going to pass that over to, you'd like to get her thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with empathy, you mean? Yes. I believe that empathy is just, as Liran said, a skill that you just have to have in life, not to be an asshole to other people. Because, and this is what is interesting about it, you might get away with not being a nice person. You might achieve things that you believe that are going to make you happy. You might not be, the guy that treats people fairly, or the guy that just too big of a person to say sorry when you make a mistake and you don't practice vulnerability. But at the end of the day, that won't translate in long-term success or achievement. At some point, it's going to catch up with you. It's going to get you, because people will shy away from you, from either making deals with you, with trusting you. Your employees will fade away. The people around you will just not feel comfortable with you, and they'll naturally just, go away. And you have to start over. So yes, it may work not practicing the empathy skill, but it won't work in the long term.
Well, the problem you've got is, well, you should know more about this than me, but narcissists don't have empathy.
Exactly.
Right. So what you've got, there's different types, right? They're on the spectrum, right? Yeah. So you've got your covert narcissist, very difficult to spot unless there's interpersonal skills and relationships you've had on a closer level, right? Then you've got the overt narcissist that we all spot. I mean, I can spot a narcissist in like 15 seconds, which goes back to the empathy thing, because with empathy, narcissist and empathy is like sticking shit to a blanket. It's like the complete opposite, because what they're doing is they need to exert control, and they'll use empathetic people to do that. And so you have to realize is like, when we look out to the world, there's religions, the not prime minister, let me rephrase that. There are people in politics, right? There are sports people, your favorite TV stars, right? There's that group of people, our industry, like the industry we work in, we've got narcissists there that, they range from very like low level narcissists in the sense of what they do. But then there's like the extreme end as well. There's a spectrum that it works across. And so I think when it comes to what you got to be careful with, pay it forward, right? And what you have with law of attraction is that it's vulnerability. And if you're vulnerable, then you can have these situations where, unless you see it coming, that you're going to attract those type of people as well. So on one side, right, you got the gratitude thing, you're being humble, you're doing all these things, and you do things for people. But equally, you can get blindsided if you're not careful. So you have to look at the vulnerability of law of attraction, paying it forward and everything else, and empathy, and the kind of other people that you will attract into your life as well.
Well, I agree with that. I think that within this industry, I myself found that when we achieved the 7 figures, I thought I was going to be over the moon and my life would be sorted and all of that. And what happened to me was something really bizarre. That day, I remember waking up and realizing we've done this, and we did it in such a short time as well. That was rather than feeling like I was going to celebrate and open that bottle of champagne that I was planning for since we started our journey. What happened to me was shock, and I felt really humbled.
Yeah.
And I realized then that actually the biggest happiness or achievement of like physical feeling that I got that year was that we were in a financial position lucky enough to help someone not lose their house. And that was so amazing. And you just can't describe it. And that made me think and realize that you in this game, in this business, as an entrepreneur, you have to have certain traits of narcissist behavior, because narcissists achieve a lot. They are go-getters, they are doers. They fit really well within the industry because it's the kind of people that are driven.
Well, you say that, right? You say that, right? So it depends on if they are covert or an overt, right? Like an overt, these are the guys that run all the big corporate companies, not all of them, but they're in those companies, right? They've got that energy. But like with a lot of narcissists, they've got no, what's the word for it? They've got super low self-esteem.
Self-confidence.
You've got very low self-esteem, but they've got a superiority complex, and it's a very controlling thing. So on one side, they're very, very brittle, and they can have what's called like a narc injury. You say the wrong thing, you set them off, and then they start to project. Do you know what I mean? Yes. So you might say something, they would, what's the words for it? There's certain words that you can use, like gaslighting and things like that. You have to be really careful. But like you said,
walk on eggshells.
Yeah, you walk on eggshells. Like if you've got like an overt narcissist, that's a different story because they're more pumped up. And it depends on the cycle of the narcissist. If it's like a covert, they can go, the pendulum swings unless they get their fuel from somewhere. So they can be right up at 1 minute and down the next. So it does vary. And a lot of narcissists are lazy because what they want to do is they want to latch on to people or where they want to get to. So the quickest route to do that, you can ask a narcissist, ask them to do a favor for you.
what would you want them to do for you?
What's that? Yeah, I was going to say no. But I'm being serious. Like, there's, because the superiority complex there is like, if you ask them to do, you can normally tell a narc, right? Like, one, they don't have empathy. They have self-pity and stuff like that, which affects them, but they don't have the same as like in terms of empathy for others. So you can spot that. But generally, if you tell a narc no, that's another thing. That's where you can start to spot them as well. But it's just interesting. Go on.
Yeah, no, I think Catherine, I think it's interesting what you said about like you have this goal of 7 figures and you get to the goal and then like, why aren't I as happy as I thought I would be? And I think it's because the actual thing that makes you happy is making progress. It's not getting to the goal.
Agreed.
Because when you start out, talking about e-commerce, your first goal is just like, I just want to get my first sale, right? And then after you get your first sale, how long does that last? How long? It wears off, right? It's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, a week, right? It wears off. It's like buying, we all get that feeling when we buy a new car, but then a week later, it's just like you feel just the same as you were driving in your old car. And I think it's really noticing that we what actually makes us happy is continuous forward moving progress towards our goals. Once you get to that goal of 7 figures, you now have a new goal, right? Of something else, increasing your profit, getting to multiple 7 figures, selling your business, whatever it is. And even when you sell your business, now you're like, what's my next goal? Now I need to figure out what to do next. And what's my next goal? Like that's going to wear off. And really I think as humans, it's just about making positive, like progress, because we're all chasing a feeling, right? Like we don't actually want the money. We want the feeling of security that money gives us, right? We don't actually want, we don't a lot of the things we want because we're chasing a feeling, and then once you got to that 7 figures, you get the feeling, but the feeling is the feeling doesn't last, right? Like I think understanding that success and failure are both temporary conditions, right? That, you know, that happiness, that you can't be happy 24/7. There would be no contrast. You wouldn't enjoy the feeling of happy if you were only happy 24/7, right? And there's this contrast in life, and like none of these feelings are permanent feelings. If you're going through a shitty time now, just know that that's going to end, and you're going to get to a feeling of good time. And like there's a back and forth, and it's actually this very contrast of feelings that is what we need as humans to make us appreciate the feeling of good versus the feeling of bad.
100%. And I think that what you say is key, because when I go to my goal, I stop and kind of reflected on why I say that I'm not feeling like I want to bounce off the walls. And I realized then that actually it wasn't about the numbers. It wasn't about the number of zeros after your, you know, journey or whatever. It was about feeling accomplished. I've been at home, as I said, I've moved to a new country, learn a new language. It's going to be only 10 years coming July 31st that I moved to England and I had to start over. I didn't know English. I didn't know anything about it. I just came with all of this trade, but that didn't apply any longer. So I've been sat at home for 8-9 years now, and not doing anything other than surviving, being a mother, being a wife, which is a lot for some people, but it wasn't enough for me. And then I made this happen, and I realized that my purpose was actually just to prove myself that I was still there, that my brain could still work in something else. And me that, you know what, it's okay not just wanting to be a mom. I can do both, and kind of try to stop bashing myself over it and realize that it was about, as you said, it was about the why I wanted to do this. What was motivating me to do this? And now after that, I can move on to, I want other people to experience this. But that also comes with what Danny said, vulnerability. Because the difference between a narcissist and someone, we all have traits of narcissism, because they're like everything else. There is,
you know what, we're sitting here and there are people watching us that could be seen as narcissistic behavior. You could take a selfie, that could be considered a behavior of narcissism, low level, do you know what I mean? But then there's the bigger end. So there are, that's what I agree with there. I think everyone carries some level of traits of narcissism somewhere, but it depends on where they are on the spectrum.
But that vulnerability is what separates us. Because people who have the ability to be vulnerable enough to take, you know, if somebody comes to you and they want to, you know, show you an idea or explore a different way, a narcissist will never take that on. They always think that their way is the best way, and they wouldn't even entertain other people's input. Whether if you are vulnerable or, you know, humble enough to say, okay, let's hear you out. Okay, that makes sense. I think is so important, and that's what drives, you know, the difference. You may have the trait, but the way how you, at the end of the day, treat other people and have that kind of grounded understanding of yourself, that you're not the best at everything, is what makes the difference.
And Catherine, isn't narcissist just another word for ego? Like, isn't somebody who's a narcissist somebody who is just leading all their thoughts, all their actions, all their thinking is just driven by ego? Like, aren't there these sort of two competing voices, or you might allow them, right? Like two competing voices in your head. That's kind of like the chimp monkey mind, that's your ego, and the human soul mind, that's like...
They don't have the ability to look within. What they do is they create this picture for themselves. They're at the top of the tree. They sit there, and what happened if looking within would expose who they really are? So they live in this false sense of security. The way that they win is by extracting, whether that's pleasure or pain, from others, right? So they live vicariously through someone else. So a narcissist will befriend someone and then take on the traits of that person. They'll live vicariously through them. They'll use narcissistic supply from them to make them feel good, but they can't look within, Liran, because they see the true self, and then that's not something that they will see.
That's the thing. I think the narcissist doesn't know that they're the narcissist because they don't know another way. They don't know self-examination. They don't know. They are leading just with ego, and And, you know, if I said every single thought that came to my head first without taking a pause sometimes, and thinking and having empathy and having gratitude, right? Then I would be a narcissist. You know, I think I've said this on your show before. I heard this interview with Dr. Daniel Aman. He's like a brain doctor. And he said, you know, his wife has this bad habit of leaving the cabinet doors open in the kitchen. And his first immediate reaction would be to yell, right, about why the cabinet doors are always open. But if he did that consistently, his wife would no longer be in the house. He would drive her out of the house. And that's ultimately not what he wants. So your first thought as a narcissist or as ego driven is to yell, why is it like this, right? And have this reaction, which is, I think, our ego mind. But if you have some self-examination and thought and awareness, and you say, if I continue on this behavior, this person that I love won't be in my house over the stupid cabinets. If I'm going to react that way, then I'm going to end up in this bad situation that I don't really want. So let me not have that reaction. And, you know, my wife, yesterday I was gonna go down to my basement and work out and exercise. And my wife said to me, hey, can you take out the garbage? Okay. And my first thought was, I'm going to go work out. I'll do that later. My second thought was, let me just take out the garbage first, and then I'll go exercise. And I'm going to have a peaceful, happy wife. And
but you're not a narcissist, so that's why you think like that. But a narcissist wouldn't think
correct. Correct.
I'll say that's good survival instinct.
Yeah. But that's because I've learned to have the awareness of not letting my first initial thought be what's blurted out of my mouth. Yeah. And to learn that. And I think if you're a narcissist watching this, then learning to have, well, what is the consequence? What is the second thought? Like, how can I do this differently? And having that thought process and changing your thought process is what would allow you to change from going from that ego mind to the soul or the human mind, or, you know, not reacting like the way an animal reacts, which is just based on instincts. If you're acting just based on your ego, you're sort of behaving like the animal that you are.
Wow, it's getting deep. But ultimately, what it comes down to as well is we're talking about the vulnerability. Then there's the manipulation side. Is that me and Kata was speaking about this last week. There's a book called 48 Laws of Power, right? The only reason you should read that book is to protect your fucking self. It is so bad. Like we read some of the snippets, Kata, didn't we? So guys out there, if you're not a narcissist, read that book. If you got empathy, read that book as a protection mechanism, because it's important that you should know this, because it's like on one end, you want to go around, you help people, you support people. There will be people out there who will try and take advantage of you. So understanding these forms of dark secrets of NLP, like the more advanced levels of that, general manipulation, deception, all that's all in that book. So you could read that book. The Art of War is another book that you can read. That's less of a narcissist handbook, but it's there out there for you to read as well. And I would suggest, if you're an empath, it's something you should knowledge up on, especially if you're in a vulnerable situation. Like, you know, let's look at the other side, law of attraction. How many times do you see these landing pages trying to flog your stuff with law of attraction? Because people are seeing that and they're going, oh, look, there's the sucker. And they will try and drag them off in a different direction. And I think this is why people get burnt with the law of attraction as well, because people are using other people's vulnerability, you know. Andrew Kramer says, which book? 48 Laws of Power. Owen Tiffany says, sadly, it can be narcissistic personality disorder. Owen said, sounds like a mental disorder to me. Tiff says, guys, love this show, in line with everything I've been learning lately. Mazel said, this is what makes it worthwhile to stay awake to 2 a.m., living others' life and waking up a different person. I don't know what context is, but it says sounds like an addiction. Singh says, Liran is explained why a number of astronauts land on the moon and end up getting depressed. They don't have a further goal. So obviously they've reached their destination.
Yep.
Evelyn is here as well. Visualization and staying positive is a good practice to make you stay focused, but you need to still need the hard working combination with that. I know people just practice the law of attraction without doing anything, it's not working very well from smiley face. Yeah, like we said, it's not something you can sit on your ass and say, give us law of attraction.
Yeah,
it has to be meaningful.
I think Evelyn probably missed the beginning where we kind of said the whole point of the vision is to program your subconscious mind to take the actions that move you towards the goal. Law of attraction is very much similar to goal setting.
Yeah.
Okay? It's very much on the same plane. You could set goals, and then if you sit on your butt and do nothing, then you're not going to reach those goals. But if you don't have the vision of what you want, you're not as likely to get it. This is the reason why lottery winners who have a poverty mindset, who lose all the money, right? Yeah. We've spoken about this before. They lose all the money because they never had the vision in the first place.
Oh, they never had the financial education as well, especially people coming, from poor background. Just put Sharon's mind at ease. This shit is deep. So you saying that every control freak is a narcissist? No, it's about the manipulation and control that a narcissist tries to put over other people. But there's a difference between control freak of what you're doing, OCD and stuff like that. But if you manipulate all the people around you or try to and control them and send their emotions up and down, that would be the tendency of narcissistic behavior.
An example of that. I'm a control freak, but I'm not a narcissist.
But a lot of people are control freaks.
Right.
Yeah,
but I mean,
you can't miss that. Yeah,
I think you need to also realize that control freak is an illusion, right? Like, it's impossible for look, you could have planned whatever you wanted to plan. The coronavirus hit, and your plans have changed. Like, you're actually not in control. If anything, this time period in our life right now just shows us how much out of control we are. And the only thing you can control, and that's why we have Mindset Sunday, is your mindset and the actions that you take. All the externalities you can't control. And control freak, or being a control freak is an illusion. It's not reality.
Yeah, but that also kind of is the same thing said differently, because if you're a control freak, as in you feel comfortable when you know everything's being taken care of, part of not being a narcissist is learning that your next step is to learn how to let things go, which is the process that kind of I set myself for this year. Is I really can't do everything. I'm not the best at everything. I need to hire out, and I made that my goal for this year at this stage of my business. Is just to kind of reach out and be humble enough to realize that, hey, she can do it better. I just need to sit back and watch her do her magic. And what I thought I was doing great, but actually there was a lot of room for improvement. And again, had I been a full-on narcissist, which is, by the way, answering that question in the DSM-4 and 5, it is a psychological disorder. You just don't have the ability. You don't have the ability to reflect that at some point, as Liran said, you're gonna have to realize that that's an illusion, and you're gonna have to start letting things go. So, yeah.
I mean, right now, like you had a restaurant, it was going great. Well, you're shut down, right? I mean, you have no control. You have no control when you can open back up. You have no control. I mean, it's just like this period of time shows us we have very little control. We have very little control. The only thing you have control over is your internal thoughts.
Yep, agreed. Some questions here.
Including control over other people, right? A lot of us think we have control over other people, our kids, our spouses, our family. You have no control.
Yeah, but I think it comes down to is how you exert that kind of control. So just to answer Tiff's question here, like it depends on where it is on the narcissist is on the spectrum and the level of manipulation that they go through. But they'll have 3 stages, right? They'll go through what's called love bombing, which is like an ideation stage, whether that's friend, family member, or whatever. Then they'll go through what's called the devaluation stage, and then they'll go through a discard stage, and they'll repeat them stages. And that could go for 30 years. You could be married to a narcissist for 30 years and only get devalued and discarded at the end, or it can be a 6-month period. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years, but it depends on where the source supply comes and whether you're a primary, a secondary, a third. There's so many things that are involved in that part of it. Tiffany says, Tiff, I'm telling you now, you're an empath. Don't you worry about that. You haven't got to worry about that at all. Matt Parker said here, where is he?
You have one here.
Yeah. I see where you're going, but I would say empaths also attractive proposition narcissists. However, empaths also attract empaths. Very true.
No.
They have a common ground.
I think Tiffany's question is, if someone's a control freak, is it an indicator that they're a narcissist? I don't think so. I think it's sort of two different personalities. I think maybe you have trust issues, right? Maybe like there could be other things going on if you're a control freak. Maybe you feel like, and maybe sometimes it's warranted. Like if I don't do it, it doesn't happen right. Maybe in some situations, maybe you have employees that suck at what they do, and you feel like if I don't do it, it's not going to happen the right way. Maybe that's true in some cases, and sometimes you need to be a control freak. But I also think it's good to realize that there's a lot that is outside of our control, and part of the way we get that control actually comes back to the law of attraction, is having a vision of what you want as a good first step. And sometimes it's letting other people know what your vision is. I mean, if you're running a company, letting, the vision shouldn't just be in your head of where the company should go. The vision should be in everybody's head, and having a shared vision sometimes is what's required to make something happen.
I love that you said that, because that's exactly my topic of conversation for the women's conference.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think, what it comes down to, you'll know internally whether you're a narcissist or not, I think. And that will come down to a number of things. Like we just said, you can be a control freak without being a narcissist, right? But where this would determine, if you sit there and think that I am better than everyone else on the planet, you're just mere mortals down below, and I'm going to get you to do this and jump through hoops. You're on a spectrum there of narcissism, like you got a problem. Yeah. But if you say to someone, right, here's my desk, I've got all of this stuff lined up and my pens are nice and neat, or please, I implore you, please, can you do it this way? I'd appreciate, this is the way the SOP works. Is that a control freak? Is that a narcissist? Who knows, right? I don't think it is. And then there's a difference between influence. You think influencers are not narcissists. Influence, right? So you sell a product, Liran, let's just say, right? You sell a product and you wear that product and use it all the time, and you tell your friends. That's influence. You're influencing, saying, look, you should buy this product. Now, on the other side, you got manipulation. You might wear all of that stuff and say, I donate all the money to charity, right? And I don't make any money. And then you give them a link, which is like an affiliate link, and you keep all the money yourself, right? That's manipulation. That's deception. There's a difference between when you break it down.
Yeah,
so,
I think the best. So I was listening to Naval, actually. He just did a podcast. He hasn't done a podcast in 2 years, and he said he wasn't going to do other people's podcasts anymore. But he just did this podcast. You can find out on his Twitter feed with this girl from New Zealand. And one of the things he said is, like, if you want to change the world and if you want to influence others, like, change your own world first, right? Yeah. Like be a source of inspiration. Like, you're not going to be able to, I think her show was focused on, like, saving the planet type thing, right? You're not going to be able to save the planet yourself, as far as, like, pollution and green and all that. Focus on yourself first and what you're doing, and that will hopefully inspire other people to do it. And it's the same kind of thing with partly being a control freak or influencing others. Like, influence yourself first. Like, I'm not going to go out and give you advice on how to make $10 million unless I've made $10 million, right? And unless I've cleaned up my world in that aspect and have done it, and then I could be a source of inspiration to other people to do it.
Yeah,
a little bit.
But that's the definition of. But we're talking influence, and then there's manipulation, then there's control. Yeah. So I think we bound around the word about control freak. The other side of that, you could look at OCD, right? You just like everything organized. Does that make you a control freak? Obviously, technically, that's different.
It's another disorder.
Right, but it can all blend together, can't it? But ultimately, it comes down to, if you have empathy, there's a good chance that you're not a narcissist, because narcissists can't feel empathy.
Yeah,
they can feel pain for themselves, but they can't feel empathy for others. So but that will tell you.
It's limited, though. A true narcissist doesn't really allow himself to sort of reflect on that very much, because that will destroy them.
Yes,
So that's the
that's
end
true.
of a
It's the-
narcissist. When
yes,
when
it
they
shatters.
reach that point,
Yeah.
that's when you see someone that was doing really well crumble and disappear,
Yeah.
right? Because
Do
they
you
will
think-
never be seen such way.
Do you think President Trump meditates?
No.
Does anyone think President Trump meditates or I mean, whatever you think about him and his job as a president, I don't want to get political.
Yeah.
But I would say he's got narcissistic tendencies, right? I mean, every one of his businesses has Trump on the wall, right? Like he's very much driven by significance. Okay. Everything is, we've done the best job. We're doing the best. It's the best. Everything I do is the best. It's narcissistic qualities. Do you think he's a guy that has self-reflection? I don't think so. No. If he meditated once in his life, I would be surprised, right? You laughed when I asked the question.
Yeah, just because I know I have a lot of friends who are Trump supporters and I'm very respectful of their views. I don't share them, but I don't bash them either. You know, each to their own. However, I have to say that you said something very key there. And narcissist behavior and narcissist people are very easily to spot because much like if you come to my world and you meet a lot of my friends who are pilots, within the first 5 minutes, they will let you know they are. So within the first 5 minutes of meeting a narcissist, you'll know that they are the worst. The way they phrase their sentences is always going to be, I think that what you're trying to say to me is, I do it this way. Everything is about how they do. They will miss no chance to prove you wrong and what you're thinking or what your opinion is.
That's the overt, but the covert.
You right.
But you say that, but coverts can be difficult. Like I've read some literature where, you know, people go to marriage counselling and the counsellor takes the side of the covert narcissist until they work out their patterns later down the line because they're that convincing. Because they can be very meek and, you know, you'd never know in a million years unless you have interpersonal relationship with it. But with the overts, it's very clear, you know.
But you know, the only way that an empath people just will always win. We are very vulnerable. I know because I suffer through other people's suffering more than my own, and that it's very, very great if in terms of how other people see you, perhaps. But for me, it sucks because I can't control it. However, the way it works is that you always have this ability to not feel comfortable, that something isn't quite right when you are with someone that's very charming and you can't quite pinpoint why. And that's when we need to listen to our bodies. I said that we always develop this scheme, which is like my thinking muscle, and just spot you just can't explain it, but you have to be aware of who you are and what makes you feel good and healthy and happy and energetic. And
well, you know what that is because what they do is if they're love bombing you or kind of idolization thing, what happens, your gut is saying this ain't right, but the charm is there carrying on, like compliments and stuff like that. So it confuses the signal, but your body doesn't lie, your gut won't lie, but you may overlook that because your senses have been barraged. Do you know what I mean? So
that's why people like Tiffany, who was saying, I need more of these good people in my life. You need to listen to yourself best. You just really need to listen to your gut and surround yourself with people that make you feel lighter and just it's easy, you know? And we really struggle to pay attention to that one point. And at the end of the day, it's the simplest one, but the one we overlook the most.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Anyway, we've done so much on narcissism. Let's get it back onto something positive. Let's move out that dark hole. So, law of attraction, back on track with law of attraction. What should people do in order to practice this? Let's give them like not a 3-point plan because everyone's going to have different ways, but what would you say?
So I think one good thing you could do is think about the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay? Think about the next 3 months, one thing that you want to achieve, bring into your life, and write it down as a statement of major purpose. Okay, this is covered in kind of like Science of Getting Rich and Think and Grow Rich. Write it down, and make it very specific. Okay, very, very specific. Make it in 2-3 sentences, something you can even memorize. Look at that every morning and every night. And then obviously, yes, you need to take action towards that goal. But I think the action alone will hopefully influence you to take those actions. But make a list. Another thing you could do is you can make a vision board, of the things you want. I think Catherine's husband said he made a vision board in the comments. He made a vision board.
We do one each side. We did this 5 years ago. I was just smiling because we did it all.
I hope were you in his vision board.
What's that?
We drew it. We did this as a date night, I think it was, wasn't it? It was ages ago. It was ages ago because Matt going up a rank in the Air Force was one of those things, and that happened ages ago. But it's funny. It's so nice to look at it now and see that I don't know how it happened. Matt told me literally, this is true, that I was crazy at the time. But it happened, and it was big, and wow, it did turn true. We were going to have another child, but we went for a dog instead.
And the lesson there is that especially if you're setting farther out goals, if you're setting 1 year, 5-year vision goals, don't get into your head about how you're going to achieve the goals. That's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is to put out a vision of what you want. If you're putting out something 3 months out, yes, it's got to have realism to it. It's got to be something that you think is achievable. But then if you're thinking about your 1 year goals, your 5-year goals, or your 5-year vision for what you want your life to be, doesn't matter. Don't worry about how you're going to get there at this point. Just work on putting out the vision. And then the goals that you have for a shorter period of time, make them realistic and look at them every day. And I think if you just took those steps, it could make a major difference in your life. Also realize, and probably I imagine Catherine sees this in her goals, is that I learned this from Jesse Itzler. Jesse Itzler says you have a movie of where you're going to go, of where you want to get to. Ultimately, the plot along the way will change, right? Catherine just said, instead of a baby, I got a dog. The vision was to have another living thing in the house, right? Sort of like the vision. The plot changed. It went from baby to dog, right? The plot can change along the way. The vision could be, I'm going to make $1 million in this business, and that will do X, Y, and Z. And you can end up making that $1 million in a totally different business. It's okay to have these shifts along the way, but you need to have the vision in the movie first. The plot will change, and fall in love with the process. I like to think about not the individual, like in e-commerce. I think the product. Don't fall in love with the product. Fall in love with the process of making that product launch and happen. And if it's not that product, it'll be another product. It'll be something else. But focus on the movie and what the end of the movie is, and the plot will change along the way. Sorry.
Go on, answer it. Comments live. Who is it, Liran?
My sister.
Tell her welcome to the show.
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. You know what we haven't done is pay it forward. We've done everything, and that's a separate thing. I would describe you, Liran, pay it forward. You answer every single request that comes in, right? My pay it forward, I'm sitting here. Side B said, is this really day 55? Yes, it is. I messed up the numbers. So we're going to do a celebration show on Friday for 60. Pay it forward, right? So that's another thing, is that's not law of attraction. It's about what you put out there to the universe yourself for others, but you don't sit there with a spreadsheet marking off and when it's all coming back. But you do it because when you do good things, things inherently come back. It comes down to karma. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, my take is that you don't count. You put things out there. Yes, I put myself out there. I answer people, but through that, I've also gotten opportunities that have come back to me in a number of ways. So, I think there's a level of enjoyment that I get out of helping people, whether or not I see a dollar in my bank account or not, that I get the benefit. That's part of what drives my, part of my human needs. Part of the way I get significance and contribution in this world is helping others. Again, whether or not that drives a dollar into my bank account.
That comes down to, again, empathy. Because you got empathy, you want to help others, right?
Listen, it can, if I'm going to self-reflect, it could come down to ego also, right? I'm feeding my ego by answering somebody's question and then saying, hey, like you saying here on the show, Liran, thank you so much. You help all these people, right?
Yeah.
That could be feeding my ego. Well, I rather feed my ego that way than in other ways, right? So I think we all need to feed our ego, feed our significance. It's if you're feeding your significance through contribution, I think that's better than other ways, right? So so it's serving me in a way too. It's not all selfless.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like paying it forward, if I was to break down a load of different things, it does come from a selfish point of view. It's like I started this show because I wanted to make sure I had something to do at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and chat to people, right?
Right.
Selfless, selfish, sorry.
I mean,
and then people watching and asking the right questions, selfless. But we're on day 55. I'm exhausted. I'm like, can we keep this up? But I gave my word. So my word was my bond. And I'm like, shit, how long are we going to last? But every day we turn up and we do this. But
if we didn't get the benefit out of doing good things, every donation anybody ever made in this world would be under anonymous, right? We always have that option, but we don't necessarily do it, right? We make it under our name because, again, it's part of it makes us feel good, right? Like the reason why people donate is not just selfless, it serves themselves also. So, but I think recognizing that and having the self-awareness is kind of like key to understanding what drives your behaviors.
100%. It also makes you human, and you know what? It's okay because we all need a little bit of that as well. Otherwise, you just don't love yourself high enough.
Yes.
And again, it's much like working mothers. Society tells you, oh, you should be doing this selflessly. But come on, we're human beings. We have a brain. We just can't change it. We need a little bit of recognition every now and then. And if that's going to come through doing good to other people or having a good influence in their lives, then that's great. It's the difference between, are you teaching them to fish or are you giving them the fish, right? That's the difference. I like that too, because right now at the very probably smallest scale than you, but through becoming a title leader, I've discovered something I didn't even know about myself, which is that when people need help for something that I have an answer for, is really rewarding and it makes me feel full and I enjoy that, and that's great. But I also know that keeps me going, so much like you said, and it's okay. You know, we all need it, and whoever said doesn't is full of.
It gives you motivation, you know, by doing these things. Like you said, it makes you feel good, but it's about having that playing field that you know you're doing it for the right reasons. Do you see what I mean? That it goes back to, I'm not going to keep going on, but like the narcissistic side of things is that they need adulation and they need that feed, right? They need to be told they're great, blah, 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 that kind of thing, rather than actually doing it to necessarily to be great, but they still need that. Whereas what we're saying is we get validation through the good that we try to do and put out into the world. So there's two different ends of the spectrum, you know?
Yes.
Let's have a look here. Kimberly says, you will achieve more than most you can ever imagine when you are humble, grateful, and peaceful and active. Sharon says, Liran inspires me and also helps me to inspire others. I follow him on Instagram and it motivates me.
Oh, yeah. Follow me on
Henrietta.
Instagram. It feeds my significance.
It filled your ego, yeah?
Yeah.
Henrietta says, that's so Liran. Nice, this guy. There you go. See, look at how do you feel now?
Danny, let's do the show for another hour.
Yeah, should we keep going? Can you keep sending compliments? Keep sending compliments to Liran. No, but in all seriousness, it's like, in all seriousness, it's about doing what makes you feel good and what can help others. It can't really harm people. Does that make sense? It's just, why not? If you can help others. There's
a comment here that says from Mazia that says, if you help people because it makes you feel better, doesn't that make you a narcissist? And the answer is no. I looked up the definition here of narcissist, which is a personality disorder, which is by the way, it says for Happy Mother's Day to all the moms, it says it's found more commonly in men.
But, it is 70% of men are narcissists compared to 30% women.
Yeah. But it says a disorder in which a person has an inflated sense of self-importance.
Yes.
Just because you help people and makes you feel good doesn't make you a narcissist. Narcissist is outside of real of what's real, of how important you are compared to other people. And really, if we want to go deep into it, there is no such thing as being more important than another human being, right? We're all we're all humans. I don't think you compare yourself in a sense of importance.
Yeah, so Mazir, going back to here, narcissists need narcissistic fuel. It doesn't matter where they get it from, whether that's flattery. There's two sides to it. It could be that they're poking for an argument. Either way, they want to get a response. From that response, that feeds narcissism, right? So what you're talking about, do you feed people by helping them? Narcissists don't help anyone but themselves because they're self-entitled. This is why I was joking earlier on. Ask the narcissist to do something for you as a favor. It's beneath them most of the time. Watch their reaction. If you want the narcissist to do something for you, you ask them, right? And then, or you say no to them. Watch their reaction. Look at the relationship. If you think you're around a narcissist, look at the behavior. Do they pretend to like they're giving you in this relationship? And then when you look at what they give, it's actually nothing. It's just hot air. So effectively, narcissists need fuel. And what you're talking about there is not, narcissists don't go out to help people because they don't have empathy. Now, they may do that, go and help people because they're in this idealization phase or they need narcissistic supplies, so they can feign that, but it doesn't mean that they will do that long term. Henrietta, I'm not going to read that out in the show because I'll just flash it up on the screen. You can read for yourself. Don't want to be taken off.
The question about how to make a vision board.
Yeah.
Well, I did it as a date night with Matt. We just drew, and we've done it in several occasions throughout our marriage. It's going to be 10 years now. We did one by literally just copying pictures and doing like a little more thing, and this we just drew on a night out, and we wanted to see if both our visions were the same for a 5-year plan. And then we just filed it away, and this just came to surface not long ago actually, and it was really neat. It was really good. It was there in the back of our brain. We weren't aware of it, but we were heading towards it, which is sort of law of attraction in a way, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's okay for your vision to change. I made a vision board in December of last year or January of this year, and I may go out and make a new one now, right? Because things change.
Updated.
Updated. Your vision can change. I mean, we just had a lot happen and change in the world over the last 3 months, right? People's perspectives, people's realization of what's truly important, things like that are coming to surface, right? Things change. Your vision board can change. You can make a vision board, put it away for 3 months, go look at it and be like, that thing, that's no longer reality, right? Baby, no, I just adopted a dog. That's not happening. Let's change the vision board. Totally fine. It's your thing to play with in the universe.
Yep, makes sense. Kimberly here, there's a few more come up here. Kimberly, every human being wants to feel valued, but if you find yourself having no other reason to live because you don't feel valued by others, this quite possibly you yourself is not finding values in others, just a thought.
Yeah, well, you need to value yourself first. If you really value yourself, then you sort of don't care so much what other people think unless there's a level of truth to it, okay? So if somebody says to you, you're a dick, and that bothers you, it would only bother you if upon self-reflection, you think that there's a level of truth to it. If you think there's a level of truth to it, it's going to bother you because then you're questioning if you really are a dick or not. If you inherently know that you're not, it can fall off you, right? So I think valuing yourself. There's a great book, Naval's brother, Kamal Ravikant, wrote a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And he recently, like in the last year, added to the book. And he wrote this book after his business completely failing. He was on the verge of like suicide and realized that the only thing that took him out of it was actually starting to love himself and completely change his life. And from there, really, really good book. I highly recommend reading that book. It also has some great exercises you could do to, focus on loving yourself more. And if you do, then if you love yourself and you know yourself, then other people's criticisms, won't necessarily affect you. Like Danny, I was listening to Naval on this podcast, and he said if somebody told him like you're stupid, right? it wouldn't bother him because he knows
Yeah.
he's smart, right? He's
Yeah.
confident enough to know he's smart. Doesn't bother you. But if in his mind there was an element that said, "Yeah, I'm stupid," it would bother him, right?
Yeah. I think criticism is the reflection of the other person criticizing. You know, it's part of their self-worth. It's projecting reflection. And, you know, if someone says that you're a dick out of the blue for no reason, they're caught in. It's like trolling and stuff like that. There's a reason behind it. And generally it's self-loathing of some kind, and it's projecting back on you.
There was a group. I was in there for a couple of years till I just decided to leave that in the Amazon space. A lot of arbitrage people. I won't name the group. But this group was kind of like the guru bashing group. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody in that group, like anytime somebody did something, myself, other people, like guru bashing. And at the end of the day, I just left the group because instead of fighting, I would go in sometimes and there was something about me or my partner or whatever, and I would go in and fight. Right. Yeah. And then I realized like it's just a reflection of who these people are. These are angry people inside. Why am I going to spend my time and energy on it? And you know, I think that recognition, like you said, that like somebody on Twitter who's trolling everybody else just feels shitty about themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't go do that.
Yeah, it's like we said about the group. You just got to ignore it at the end of the day. Just get on with it. If you feel that you're doing the best you can, and people are talking nasty about it, just fucking let them get on with it. Just let them get on with it.
You know, that's how self-love, Liran, translates into the Amazon world and starts selling things on e-commerce. Everyone always blames the bad product, right? The bad I don't know, training course or whatever. And at the end of the day, I've never heard anyone to realize that, you know, we have this conversation often with Matt when Matt says, what if they close our account or our product doesn't work out or whatever? And at the end of the day, your best product is yourself. You know how to start over. So worst case scenario, everything goes to shit. You have to start over, but guess what? You still have you. You learn how to do it. You made it happen. What stops you from doing it again? And that takes away all the anxiety over this e-commerce, Amazon's, it's going to screw me over and whatever. You can always start over. The best product is always going to be you. And that's what allows you to enjoy the ride, enjoy the process of getting there where you want to be one day, you know. And we just don't reflect on that enough. Yeah.
And you know what? Love conquers all. It does. Don't matter how much hatred that people's got in their hearts and everything else, love will conquer all. I'm a big believer in that. I'm a soppy old boy, but I believe love conquers all because it can outshine hate by a magnitude of whatever. But yeah, that's my take on it. Any final thoughts before we shoot off?
No, for me. I mean, I think this was a really good discussion.
Got heavy at times, and the audience is like, "Am I a narcissist?" I'm like, "No, you're fine." You're fine.
If you're thinking you're a narcissist, you're probably a narcissist. Or no, because the truth is, if you have the self-awareness to even ask the question, you're likely not a narcissist. Yeah. If you're thinking immediately, "I'm not a narcissist," then you may want to question that, right?
That's not me. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this was a really good discussion. I really love Mindset Sunday. I think it's a nice aspect to all of what we do. And I think that if you are not mentally right, your business is not going to be as good as it can be.
Exactly.
You're the driving force of the business. If the driving force of the business has issues, like if the machine driving the business has issues, then business is not going to go as well. Now, obviously, narcissists can drive great businesses, but they could probably be a lot better if the narcissist if the machine was running at optimal capacity. So I think this is a really important part of running a business.
Indeed. Kata, anything you would like to finish up on?
If you're quite sensitive and the opposite of a narcissist, protect yourself. Listen to your body. Reflect on what makes you feel comfortable, what feels easy. It shouldn't be complicated to establish relationships, especially within this industry. If you feel that something's not quite right,
it isn't.
It probably isn't. Yeah. So listen to yourself and dream big. Sit down, draw sketches, make them happen, adjust them along the way, bring them out, see what you've done, see how you've changed. Just give yourself some time.
And reflect. To end off on what Catherine said is, if you're the opposite of a narcissist, like maybe you're
an empath. Yeah.
Maybe you're afraid of saying no to somebody. Like ask yourself, why am I afraid of saying no? Why am I afraid of confrontation? What's going to happen if I do say how I feel, right? That's like the opposite spectrum, you want to end up being like somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be somebody, especially in business, that's going to be that people can step all over you. And then you don't want to be the one stepping all over the people, right? You want to have some kind of a happy balance. And if you do feel like you're the one that gets stepped on, which could be that person that's super empathetic to everything, then you need to ask yourself, why am I afraid of confrontation? That's also a self-esteem issue. It's just a self-esteem issue, a different kind of self-esteem issue.
Yeah, true. And also is set boundaries. Just put boundaries, set them up. And the problem is with narcissists doing manipulation and gaslighting and all that kind of stuff. You can't see it coming. It can create a wave of confusion. But if you can see it, if you understand what's going on, then you'll be able to set your boundaries up. Not saying it's going to be perfect, but that's one thing. Yeah, and just work on your confidence. Look, everyone, we're going back to vulnerabilities. Everyone's going to be vulnerable. They're going to have their good days. They're going to have their bad days and stuff. You just build off your strength. Surround yourself with people that you love and that loves you. Your ride and dies, I call them. Put your ride and dies around you, and a lot of that can then be protected, and your people will raise you up.
It's only going to shy away the people that you don't want to be mixing with anyhow in the long run. So works both ways.
Cool. All right, guys, let's leave that here. I'll be back again tomorrow. Let me give you a quick rundown of what we've got coming up. Social media marketing show we're doing tomorrow. I'll name the guest then. On Tuesday, we're going to do failed products part 4. That's always a bit of a giggle. On Wednesday, the 13th, we're going to do one on branding women products. And we've got a panel there talking about the branding, packaging and everything else there. Thursday is going to be our Shopify part 5. Friday is Awesomers versus Seller Sessions. 60 shows in a row. We're going to bring back Steve and, of course, Liran will be on that show as well. Then Saturday will be Woman of Amazon, and that's going to be an in-depth with Athena Severi. And then Sunday is going to be Mindset Sunday. But me and Liran need to have a little chat about what we're going to cover. So, and that is it. Oh, and if you haven't got one already, go and get a ticket for brandedbywomen.com. Coming up in a few weeks, it's free. And obviously, Kata is going to be making a debut there as well in terms of doing a presentation.
Yep.
Liran, how can people reach you, the agency, etc.?
PM me on Facebook. Best way.
Excellent. Guys, been lovely to leave you. Take care. Stay home. Be safe. Take care of your family. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.